Welcome to EUPrivacyForAll, Article 6.1.2 on legal grounds for processing. In the frame of negotiations regarding legal grounds and Article 6, as already mentioned in the sessions 2 and 3, respectively describing consent and further use of data, European Parliament was having an approach based on explicit consent, whereas EU Council sticks to a wording of an ambiguous consent. In the end, Article 6.1a merely refers to the requirement of getting consent. Article 6.1f on legitimate interests pursued by the controller to process data, European Parliament referred to reasonable expectations of the data subject based on his or her relationship with the controller, but also referred to an exception when processing was carried out by public authorities in the performance of their tasks. The obligation described in Article 6.1f was supposed not to apply anymore. EU Council deleted both proposals. No reference is made to reasonable expectations of data subject, but not anymore to any exception for public authorities. The key provision in GDPR is Article 6 on lawfulness of processing. It merely mentions all the legal grounds that one data controller could use in order to process personal data. It is mentioned clearly that a processing will be lawful only if and to the extent that at least one of the following applies. First case, the consent. Second case, the necessity of processing for the performance of a contract. Third case, the necessity to process for compliance with legal obligation. Fourth case, the necessity to process in order to protect the vital interests of data subject or another natural person. Fifth case is the necessity to process for the performance of a task carried out in the public interest. And final case is the one of the legitimate interest pursued by the controller or by a third party. Once again, such a ground is limited and tightly framed. The controller shall, in each case, verify whether its interests are overridden by the interests or fundamental rights and freedoms of the data subject concerned, in particular where the data subject is a child. Finally, a new provision, 2a, stresses the fact that Member States may maintain or introduce more specific provisions to adapt the application of the GDPR regarding legal obligation or public interest legal grounds. Overall, we will notice that all those grounds are really in line with what was provided initially in the directive. Would you have any further question on purpose limitation and further use of data? I invite you to get to Session 3 video available on EUPrivacyForAll channel on YouTube. Currently, the directive provides 6 legal grounds that are the same as in GDPR: consent, performance of a contract, legal obligation, vital interests, performance of a task carried out in the public interest, and legitimate interests pursued by the controller. A key difference would be in the wording of Article 7a, referring to a consent that the data subject would have unambiguously given. What should accountable data controllers get prepared for? First, keep on implementing the core obligation in Directive 95/46 of having a legal ground for each of the purposes identified. Moreover, frame tightly further processing and demonstrate compatibility It means tipping a balance between the interests of the controllers on one side and the ones of the data subjects on the other side. It is all the more important when the purpose is not archiving scientific, historical, or statistical purpose. Specific caveats now on consent. It shall be explicit or unambiguous depending on the cases. On legal obligations or tasks carried out in the public interest, the controller shall take each necessary step to identify national specifications. Finally, regarding the legitimate interest ground, the controller shall take steps to check whether the controller's interests are overridden by the interests or fundamental rights and freedoms of the data subject. Overall, demonstrating compliance within the frame of the accountability principle. Key question is whether EDPB inquiries based on those grounds will focus mainly on documentation or on any other accountability demonstration.